Hello, everybody. All right. So everyone is with us here. Kate and I have a very incredible, delicious passion project that we do together called Freedom Alchemist. And inside of that, one of our programs is Best You Breakthrough, which we have a new 6-week journey starting tomorrow. So we want to give people an opportunity to hear an opportunity. They're going to tan their opportunity. Opportunity to learn
better with a tan, right?
Especially
So it's an opportunity.
An opportunity. So it starts tomorrow, and it's a 6-week journey. But we're going to be sharing in this next 20 minutes about community and its powerful effect on longevity, but also on happiness, and also just having people listen. But do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Kate Austin, for those of you that don't know me. We started this company almost 5 years ago now, with basically there was a lot of confusion and pain in the world at that time. This was even pre-pandemic, and felt that people didn't have access to tools that were so simple and effective to have them take back their power, own their health, own their life. And so we created this to give people access, because we've both done, self-development our entire lives. And I have a master's in NLP, and I'm Tony Robbins trained strategic intervention coach. So this is my jam, and this is what I'm committed to, that people have access to tools that help them empower their lives and live the life that they truly want, not a life of default, of surviving and instead of thriving, and just being on the hamster wheel. So anyone can get off that hamster wheel. Some people have more challenges than others because of their circumstances or their mental state, and it's possible for every single person. So this is why we were committed to creating this company. And this gorgeous specimen of a human being, yes, has been a human guinea pig for his, pretty much his whole life. Do you want me to blur?
Go ahead. I mean, you can. It's fun.
And you can jump and add to it. But yeah, when I met Paul, I'd never met anyone so committed to their health, to their body. There's no, most of Paul's money will go into, without a second thought, will go into something to improve his health, add longevity, a health hack, a biohack, whatever it is. He's always open, and he'll do the hard things to get there. We did a 10-day water fast a few years ago and documented it to see what benefits and side effects and all that sort of thing happen. Yeah. So that's just one of many, many, many things that he's done. I just got to join in on that, so I know about it.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was, but yeah. So, and then you can share, and he's doing all these extra things right now, so I'll let you share about
Really?
that.
Okay, so I've always been passionate about fitness and nutrition. It started off more from a vanity perspective, where I wanted to look good, and I saw like Jean-Claude Van Damme in a movie, Bloodsport, and I wanted to have an 8-pack, so I stopped eating sugar, did the splits, and it actually got me to start acting too, which is really funny. It's a different story for a different time. But then my first book I got was Fit for Life, which is really very similar to what we teach now, which is good food combining higher fats, higher fibers, and like slower carbohydrates. It's one of the first books Tony Robbins put together with another couple. And then I got into a world of fitness where I did men's health covers, and I had to be very low body fat and very fit all the time. And then moved into acting and film, where I my shirt's on sometimes, but I think most of the time. But I have to be not just look good, but survive the film and make sure my immune system's strong enough to be insurable too.
The show must go on, as they say.
That's right. Yeah. So learning not just to look good now, it's shifting to feeling good. And then my dad passed away now 9 years ago from ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's. And in that 5 years of trying to keep dad alive, we did a deep dive on detoxification and a lot of the field around neurodegeneration and toxicity, and then preventing heavy metals and toxins to shut down in neurological systems that give MS and ALS and all those things. So my dad's illness really put me on a path of discovery for prevention of these some of those diseases and why they happen in the body. And then go ahead.
I just want to say we're in a different era now to what our parents were in. So there's so much that Paul learned and we continue to learn about the foods that we consume and the things that we do now that our parents did no problem, but it didn't have all of the extra processing and chemicals and GMOs and things like that we are now contending with today. So detoxification for our bodies is an absolute must for everyone. Yeah. That's why everyone's like, they suddenly got cancer at this young age. They suddenly got early onset dementia. There's no sudden about it. It's the way our lifestyles are these days. And so we have to learn how to combat that and not just be complacent or negligent about it because it's like, I'm just doing what my dad did. And if he lived till he was 80, you know, or 90, whatever, it's not the same. It's not equal anymore. So learning what he learned and what he's sharing is like so essential for everybody to know.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, continue.
And if you're just joining, we're talking about Kate and I have a new program that's launching tomorrow that shares a lot of these things we're talking about here. But our focus on what we're talking about and sharing with you today is community and its effects on longevity. But before, we were just introducing ourselves in case you just joined. And I'm currently enrolled in IIN, which is a functional medicine program. It's a year-long program of understanding integrative nutrition, and nutrition just a small part of it. They really do go into so many other facets of coaching and lifestyle, and having a lifestyle that's actually in living a life that's congruent to your heart and living on purpose and living on passion. So,
and that's what we do really well. We're not just, some people join us because they want to release weight, and we're known for people that have struggled their whole life to lose weight to suddenly lose a lot of weight. Some of our people have lost 100.
They don't find it.
They release 100, 110, 80, 90, 60, 70 pounds is pretty normal for our people. And it's because we create for them a lifestyle. It's not a quick fad. It's not do this and it's done. It's for life, how to really own and eat delicious food and make your life yummy, all of it. And the biggest thing is, one of my components is I focus on the mental, how we can look at traumas or dark things and start to shift how we feel about it, not being able to run from them. The more we resist, pain persists, right? So we learn to look at things with a different open heart. We learn to, lean into things and be uncomfortable to break through to that next barrier, that next, thing that helps elevate us and lift us up. So I do the mind, Paul does the body, and together we do connection
and
relationships. And that, let's bring that all around to talking about community. And one of our favorite parts of mine, I'm speaking for you, favorite parts of our program is our community. There's some people that have been with us the entire 5 years. They just keep coming because when you stay in the conversation, you stay committed to your life. Now, you don't have to stay with us the whole time. It's a 6-week program with a 2 weeks extension, and then you can stay or you can leave because there's a membership after that. But it's the people it's the community that really enhances people's lives. And so I want everyone just to think about the pandemic, and what that did for you. Now, some people, it was really wonderful because we got to turn inwards and we got to really know ourselves in a different way. And it might have been painful, but we got to break through some things. But for a lot of people, there was a lot of loneliness, disconnection from family, a lot of fear of that. So I want you to write in the comments, what sort of impact that loneliness or that separation from family, friends, and people had on you. And just so we can really see, and we'll read out a couple that came.
Mm-hmm.
And while those comments, they take a minute to come through. Let's just see. Are we getting it live?
This is a little bit of a delay, but I can look on the comments inside here, but they're over the top. Thousands of people here would never say, hi.
So what we asked is, what impact did the pandemic have on you?
Okay, here we go.
With a disconnect, like from feeling loneliness or disconnected from family and friends. I gained weight. Yep, a lot of people did that. A lot of people did that.
And just while these are coming in, I heard this powerful description, and we're sharing about community and the power of having a large or a small group of people listening for your greatness. And Kate and I, in one of our communication courses, we're trained in how to listen for someone's greatness. And go ahead, there's someone there.
Yeah, so devastated, isolating feeling, more gained weight. Someone's my mom died right after COVID started, so immense grief and loneliness.
Sleep changed from Milana and more mind racing. Yeah, definitely effect. And the effect of loneliness, the effect of being isolated from others in a community, has many effects on your mental health, but also on your physical journey. And we go from living, our ancestors lived in tribe. And one of my favorite quotes is from Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Power of Myth. And he's actually responsible for Star Wars. He was a friend of George Lucas, and just about every good story, has Joseph Campbell's hero's journey worked into it. And one of his quotes, my teacher Kathy used to share with me, is like that our societies began to fall apart when we stopped living in tribes. And because, the grandparents, the ancestors would take care of the young, and then the young couple could be together while they were at a tribe raising.
They could do, they could go, they had younger physical bodies, so they could go and do more heavy labor. They could go and do more things while the grandparents took care of children. There's this like isolation from mothers these days, as a new mom myself, where you have to be the whole world for this child, and it's these two people doing that when they used to be aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, grandparents. We all lived together, and neighbors, everyone was connected,
taking care of each other,
watching out for the little ones. They could all play together, and there was always someone that had a watchful eye, whereas now that's one or two people having to do all of that, and it's very challenging. And so that's why there's a breakdown in that structure as well. And then someone was here say mental health issues like never before. And anxiety inducing. This is all from the pandemic. So,
and if you look at our ancestors, there was circles, right? Like we lived in tribes, we lived in communities, and we lived in nature. There's no hard lines, there's no right angles in nature. And right now we live in our box houses, and we drive a box car, and we look at a box on our phone constantly. We get to work, we stare at a box screen in a box cubicle. We drive home in the box car, then we stare at another box, like watching whatever program, some people forever. And we're our human design, we're not designed to be like this, to have this experience. We've become so isolated and so sick, and disease, mental disease, but also physical ailments are so on the rise because people are isolated from one another, and not living your life just for yourself is a very lonely life. When your life is in service to another life, or you're living, that's why parenting is so special. But when you're living your life and in service of others, but also in a community where you depend on others, there's so many benefits to mental health, but also your physical well-being. And it blew my mind when I first heard that everything is a box. I'm staring at you all through boxes,
and that's
right?
Unnatural. Like we said, there's no hard lines in nature. Everything has movement and curves and fluidity. And and that's one of the things that we teach about as well, is labels. Everyone's like, I am this, I am a white woman, I am, a black woman, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jewish, I'm this. We keep like putting ourselves into boxes to then see if we will like this person or that person. Oh, they have the same boxes as me, so we're good. They have different boxes, I don't know, and so we continue to, even PTSD is a label. Anxiety is a label. When we say, oh, I have anxiety, or my anxiety, we're owning that label. Instead, it's a symptom of anxiety. You're experiencing symptoms of this. We're very keen on language, because what we label ourselves or what others label us becomes us, and that becomes a prison in time. Even if it's that person's extraordinary athlete, like if they stop having the capacity in their body to be an extraordinary athlete, they're then a failure because they no longer fit that label. And so even something positive and wonderful becomes a prison sentence over time. I want to read you something about loneliness. So in 2015, a psychology professor, Julianne Holt Lundstedt of Brigham Young University, led a meta-analysis of 70 papers involving more than 3.4 million participants, followed over an average of 7 years. The study found that a lack of social connections was as great a risk factor for early death as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So loneliness is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
On your health, the effects of it on your likelihood to die.
Yeah, and that it constitutes a greater risk than such lifestyle risk factors as obesity and lack of exercise. So loneliness was more impactful on your health than obesity and lack of exercise. And other recent studies have connected loneliness and social isolation with a range of health problems, including heart attacks, strokes, drug abuse, alcoholism, anxiety, and depression. Now, we have seen all of that. How many people have suddenly had strokes, heart attacks, all of that during the pandemic, right? Is and alcoholism definitely went up.
Yeah,
anxiety and depression. So many people that didn't have any symptoms of that suddenly now have a lot of symptoms of that, or panic attacks, things like that.
Yeah.
And it is purely, a disconnect from humanity. And then we also had fear flung in, all the news channels, fear of everybody else. They might infect you, they might
stranger danger.
Yes.
So it was like it's
a perfect storm, wasn't it? Of like how to keep everyone isolated, and then that isolation probably over time will kill far more people than the pandemic ever could. So we have to look at how do we come back together. Now, something really wonderful happened in the Great Depression, right? After the Great Depression, they had the Roaring 20s. And I like to look at it that way. So the Roaring 20s had everyone burst out, and there's dancing, and there was like all sorts of new flamboyancy that happened in that time. It was underground, and then it exploded.
There was the Great Depression's in the 30s. But
Sorry.
There was another
World
War One.
World War One.
There was a big compression.
I should get my history right.
There was a big depression and a big shutdown of society with World War One. But after World War One, there was a big explosion of creativity and self-expression and everything in the 20s.
Yeah.
But the Great Depression was like in the 30s.
Okay. So
the Great Depression triggered something for World War II, and then after World War II, there were the 50s and 60s and 70s. There's
so with compression. What we're saying is there's an expansion, and so it's time for expansion after this. We're at the tail end of this pandemic, and there's still people that are fearful, that are not living their lives. But it's time for you to and this is why our community is wonderful. You are part of a community, but you're still not touching people yet, so you're still safe if you're worried about your health, but you're able to so many of our people are now traveling the world together. Our group is a lot there's people have made their best friends for life, people that suffered great tragedies during the pandemic. It was this group that got them through. It wasn't their friends and family, because of the way that we share, our lives, the way that we show up for one another. And so having a cheer squad that is there for your greatness, really standing for who you get to be, not your past, not your traumas, not all the things that maybe stopped you in the past. People standing for who you get to be, who you're creating yourself to be, the life that you really want to live. And those people help push you gently out of your comfort zones. You see people, we all think our problems are our own. But when someone shares something they're going through, most people I've gone through that, or I'm going through that right now. Or, oh, wow, I can't believe they're sharing that. I was so ashamed that I experienced that, and I would never tell a soul. And look at them sharing so beautifully about it, and it has us less ashamed, less more willing to talk about things that get in our way. And when we name it, we can move it. If it stays hidden dark in our body, it manifests into dis-ease. And that's not what we want. We want to be able to create and share things so that we can move them through our body. Fluidity, like nature, no hard edges, letting things come up and out. And that is what community will do for you.
Yeah. And having a community that's listening for your greatness, like you touched on that for a minute, and listening to you as your declaration and as your future possibility rather than your past. That's what's so profound. And Kate and I were trained in this, is having people around you that are listening for your greatness, not listening for you small or as your past or your mistakes. And everybody here listening here, I imagine, I'm sure this is a great way of explaining it, but I'm sure there's some people you're around where you feel super funny and super vivacious and self-expressed, and then
fabulous.
But then you're around another group of people or person, and you're like, you don't even know who you are. You're shut down. You're embarrassed. You
feel stupid.
You're not witty.
Yeah.
And so in those people, they're listening. The way they listen to you has you show up in a certain way.
Now break that down, because if no one's heard that, it's like someone listens to you.
Well, yeah.
And so that means, I listen for Paul to just be super funny and fabulous. Like he's a whirlwind that brings life into every room, and he's handsome and hunky and fun. And so I listen to him that way. So he gets to be, and I laugh like crazy at all his jokes.
So that's how I show up, because it's like an easy space for me to be in, because that's how she's almost like expecting me to be. And you have
without expectation,
but like it's like you're used to that, so there, that's easy. Around you, that's who I am, and that's her listening of me. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Someone's listening, and it's like
if you know Aunt Melba, who always comes, and
it's Melba toast. Is that Aunt Melba? And
she ruins the family get-togethers, and she's always complaining, and she's so you're listening to Aunt Melba that way, so she can't show up any other way rather than complaining and being horrible and like ruining the event. So this is what we mean by how we listen, and we train people how to listen for us. We train people how to treat us, and so then they start listening for us. If we're always feel stupid or like we're clumsy and we break things at someone's house all the time, then we train them, and we're like, oh my gosh, and then we're all like this, and then we break something else. Oh, I've done it again. So we're training those people to also listen for us that way. So it's so magical to be able to understand those little nuggets and to start taking new directions or new actions in order to like move through those, so you can change, and you can show up in a new way over and over, so people's perception changes of you. You can create boundaries, so you can say, no, that doesn't work for me anymore. There's all these ways in which we can shift the perception of ourselves and the perception others have of us.
Yeah.
And that's the other cool thing, is who you think you are is not who anyone else thinks you are.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother thing. I won't get into that. But basically, we have hundreds of personas, depending on how many people we know. Every single person has a different perspective of you than you have of you. So they all expect you to show up in a certain way, and you expect yourselves to show up in a certain way. So it also, the freeing aspect of that is we are not tied to any one way of being or showing up. We get to create and shift who we get to be all the time. Who we were a year, 10 years ago is different to who we are today. So we get to continue to move through that. And that's what we create. We create ways. And when you have a group of people listening for your greatness, listening for you to show up in all your power, allowing you to fail and mess things up and like stumble, but then get picked back up again. That is what has people transform. And that's why, as a side effect, a lot of people release a lot of weight on our program, because there's love, acceptance, and there is no failure. There's lessons and there's successes. That's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
well,
you're going to share
in all stuff? Of the, well, yeah, I want to share a couple of testimonials, our course outline, and then we're going to let you guys go. So Kate and I, if you're just joining, have a new offering, Best You Breakthrough, starting tomorrow. And it is a 6-week journey with a 2-week bonus. And week 1, let me just quickly break this down for you. Week 1, we create declaration. So you draw a line in the sand. I teach on hydration, sleep, movement, and we introduce you to celery juice. And declarations are like your creating what your life is in your language. Week 2, we set you up for the win. We introduce morning rituals and a really special way to create your morning. Week 3 is supercharging your immune system, gut, sugar, fasting as well. We speak into fear and anxiety and symptoms of that, why, and understanding a big why, not how. If you can know why to do something, the how will find its own way. Week 4 is integrity to yourself, integrity to others, and your body, integrity to your body. Restoring love and affinity in any of your relationships. That's what week 4 is about. Week 5, we introduce consistency versus intensity and the 1% rule, habit stacking, asking yourself better questions like, does this food cleanse me or clog me? That's week 5. Week 6 is the road to rebuilding your relationships, love languages. We introduce, so that's one of our favorite things is understanding love languages, and we teach about generous listening and acknowledgement. So
and how to acknowledge people like that tool in itself is worth the whole program.
Yeah.
Once you get that, you can have like everything in life can become easy anytime you use it. So it's a really good juicy one. That's why we leave it to the end.
Yes, and then there's 2 bonus weeks that you can jump in with our main. We have a monthly membership, and you get to see what that's like for a couple of weeks.
And with that, actually, so that program has been running, this whole year. So when you join in for those 2 weeks, you don't just get 2 weeks, you get the entire year's worth of content. And so there's tons for you to dive into and see. It's extraordinary. And then you get to be a part of the main membership group in the Facebook page. So you get to see how everyone lifts each other up, how people interact, what it is to be a part of this community of extraordinary people that have achieved just miraculous, like some of the things you would think, what,
I'll read a couple.
No longer diabetic, releasing over 110 pounds.
There's 3 testimonials in a row here. From Deborah, released 85 pounds. Donna released 90 pounds. And then Neva's released 106 pounds. And like we said, I could give you 100 things to do for your body, but if your mind's not on the same team as all these things, are not going to work. But the community, having something to live for that's bigger than yourself, is actually one of the biggest components. And all of the longevity studies that I've read, that especially the blue zones, the number one thing is they have a tight knit community and a system where everybody has something to live for that's bigger than themselves. And all the blue zones, that means people that have the most centurions. There's several of them on our planet, but the number one thing they have, it's not that they're vegetarians. Most of them eat a lot of vegetables, but the number one thing they have is a tight knit community. And there's painting groups, there's bowling groups, there's this, and it's so people that will make you live longer than a bunch of kale. It just will. It just will. And now over time, I do believe, obviously, that eating well and eating food that is high in nutrition value is going to give you a lot of gifts, but the data and the research shows that you're having something to live for,
having people that care about you, that lift you up, that support you during harder times.
Is the largest effect on longevity. And not just longevity, but living well into your older age. Okay, so here's a couple quick testimonials, and then we'll let you go and give you a chance to join us tomorrow, depending on when you watch this. But whenever you're watching this, there will be a new one. We run them about every couple months. So if you're watching this in the future, it might not be tomorrow, but just check underneath this video, and you'll see when the next one is. And just to let you know, our price is $125 for this 6 weeks, which is our ridiculously lowest price that we can go. And we wanted to have something that allows people to have an offer that they could afford. It's less than a coffee or two, depending how much your coffee is. But it's if you cut out Starbucks and turn off some of your subscriptions on your iPhone, that'll take care of that really quick.
Yeah.
But people need to invest in their health. Like if you don't have your health, you have nothing, absolutely nothing. People get so cheap with themselves, and they're like, what else is there than your health and your vitality. Like, you will make more money if you have energy.
Mm-hmm.
You will have sexier relationships if you feel sexier in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Deborah says this: I started the work in this group in 21. I was at a low, hopeless point in my life. I felt like my whole life revolved around medicine and doctors. I was seeing 4 of them regularly, and I still was not getting any help. Everything was continuing to get worse. I'm so thankful that I joined this group, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that it has saved my life. In 1 year, she says I've released 85.8 pounds.
It's more now, but
Come off of 5 medicines and cut 1 in half. Dropped 2 doctors. She's down to 2. Skin is better. Mobility is greatly improving. And I can't even describe how much better I feel. And is that from Donna, or does Donna start
No,
here?
Donna starts there.
Okay, so that's one. That was from Deborah.
And I know Deborah, so many of her friends saw so much difference in her that they have joined us because it's just unmistakable, like what happened with her. So and then they're having beautiful transformations too. So because it's they're inner community within our bigger community, all supporting each other. So they're having massive transformations quickly because of that as well.
Should we read the next one?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is from Donna. This course has changed my life. I went into it not thinking it would change my appearance. I think it would change my appearance. I went into it not thinking it would change my appearance. Since October 2020, and this is probably 2 years after that, I have now released 90 pounds forever, she says. I eat healthy and clean foods now. I walk further and faster and more swiftly. I no longer dread or detest, or I'm ashamed of seeing what I see, or when I have my picture taken or looking in the mirror. For the first time in many years, I feel good and proud of myself. I'm very, very happy and impressed with me. I love that. And then Bettina says, this course with these fantastic coaches and this amazing community changed my life forever. When I started in 21, I was stressed out from work. I didn't eat well, didn't exercise. I was on painkillers, needed meds for high blood pressure, didn't take care of myself, had a hard time with the mirror, always tired.
And
powerless. Now, when I'm where I'm at now, May 22, I have less stress due to reduced working hours. I would not have been able to make this decision without the course and the breath work. That's so cool. The breath work helped her make a powerful decision. We teach breath work in this course as well. Change my diet and have a better relationship with food, reduce sugars and carbs, added celery juice, and much more veggies. Released 50 pounds. I move my body regularly, don't need high blood pressure meds anymore, no painkillers, no surgery.
No surgery. She was set for new surgery.
I take time for myself, my dreams, and my goals. I like what I see in the mirror. I love myself and my life. I feel energetic, relaxed, and balanced. Of course, at times I'm at a point of reverting to old patterns, but all these tools I get here and this awesome community help keep me on the right track. And so I just love that. The main thing there is community, because on our own, we can get sneaky with ourselves and start integrating like some treats and snacks that maybe would take us back into an old pattern.
When you think about, you learn something new and it's new, and that's why it's 6 weeks, because it takes 6 weeks to kind of get new inbuilt patterns. But if you just suddenly drop off, that's why we continue the community, is you might have 40-50 years of doing it the old way. So you're pitching 6 weeks against 40-50 years. It can take a bit, right? So that's why that's why we have the membership, so people can stay in the conversation. And these things you drop off and drop on. You're human, right? You can't do things perfectly. There is no perfect, but we drop off and we drop on, and we get built back up, and we are lifted up by one another, and we get back on the horse over and over and over again. And that's when it becomes a lifestyle. That's when it becomes your life. You're on a journey for life. You don't have, oh, I dropped 20 pounds and now I'm done. No, you have to maintain, you have to like create a way in which they don't ever find you again, those 20 pounds, you know. So it's staying in the conversation, staying in the community, staying open, honest, and vulnerable about exactly where you are, and not making it wrong or bad, just being like, this is where I am and this is what I'm creating. So it's constantly like going between this is where I am, this is what I'm creating.
Right.
Rather than like, oh, this is what happened in the past and it's happened again, or I'm
Yeah.
plateaued. And
Yeah.
like people get so hard on themselves. No, gentle, loving, be gentle and kind to yourself. All right.
Deborah said she's released 94 pounds. Mary has released 50 pounds.
Yes.
Neva has now released 113. And like I said, we're not a weight loss program, but when you come into balance and congruity with your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions, and you start living your life more like who you really are, that protection from weight will just start to release, and in truly loving yourself exactly how you are. Like we train you to, the journey is the miracle and the blessing. That it's not someday when you're this weight you're going to be happy. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way. Our dopamine system doesn't work that way. But it's such a beautiful journey. I also saw there's I think Meryl, I'm having a hard time with her name on here. Marilyn has daily panic attacks. Well, we'll join us because we have some tools for that.
With us. She's joined. She's in the next one.
Is she? Oh, amazing. Well,
Mhm.
you'll be fine because we'll teach you some breath work, reduce your caffeine, and we'll there's a bunch of really groovy things that you'll get that'll help you with that symptoms of having, you won't have the identity of somebody who has panic attack every day. But that is it, everyone. If you want to join, we said this current one, it'll be starting very shortly after you're seeing this video, depending on when you see this video. And if you want to learn more about us, you'll get a message on Instagram from us. And if you're here watching here, you'll get, you can go to paulgreene.com and sign up there, or freedom-alchemist.com and sign up there.
Go to the Freedom Alchemist website, freedom-alchemist.com.
Not dot, just freedom-alchemist.
That's what I said.
Right? Okay.
-alchemist.com. So go there, you can check us out. This also, you can check us out on the Freedom Alchemist Facebook page. You'll see a bunch of other lives and get a vibe of who we are and how we teach, and we make it a lot of fun. We don't, no one's wrong, you know. It's all really beautiful and loving. It's a way of being uplifted, and so and the tools to help you
100%.
really move through the world with much more ease and grace.
That's what we're committed to, is that yes, people will live a life they love with ease and grace, and your life will never be the same. These tools have changed our lives in such a profound way, and thousands of lives. And this is our entry-level course. Kate and I have other courses that we've designed for different folks at different places in their life, but this is a really powerful way to get to know us and to start with us. So yeah. All right. If you have any questions,
life and what your goals are.
If you have questions, DM directly myself or Ruth Hill or Kate Austin. Better luck with those two. And
Ruth or I.
Yes, much love to you all. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.